Goals on the road to achievement cannot be achieved without discipline and consistency. Dreams without goals remain just goals. Nothing in life worthwhile unless you take a risk. Every failed experiment is one step closer to success.
Yeah.
Fall forward. Mr. Denzel Washington.
I love Denzel.
My idol. Welcome back, everybody, to Town Hall Cafe, Los Angeles. This is our 6th podcast here at Morris Media Studio in the historic Leimert Park neighborhood in Los Angeles. We thank Morris Media Studio and its owner, Felicia Morris, for hosting our podcast, Town Hall Los Angeles. My name is Pat Diggs, Program Director of Operation Backlot. And what we do, we train and provide apprenticeship programs for aging out foster care adults on the backlots of film and the media industry. I am here today with 2 special guests, Diedrich Fowley, to the right, and also Mariah Smiley. And they're going to be talking about the challenges of aging out foster care and their prospective futures. And we also have A. Couture, and she's going to give us an update of all the happenings involving an emerging Crenshaw community. So anyways, we're just sitting around the table, catching up. And first of all, I want to open up the discussion with an article about diversity in Hollywood. I found this about a month ago. And I just want to read it, and this sort of like will give us an overview or an overcast of what our discussions are going to be about today. And the title of the article was Films Fail to Make Progress. Despite women and people of color at the helm of high-profile successes such as Black Panther, Get Out, Girls Trip, and Wonder Woman, a new study has found that diversity of representation among Hollywood films remains largely unchanged from a decade ago. The study, published by the USC Annenberg School for Communication and Journalism, found that among 1,100 popular films released between 2007 and 2017, there's been little to no improvement regarding the inclusion of women, people of color, or members of the LGBTQ or disabled communities. Okay. Behind the scenes, representation is just as bad. 81.7% of people working as directors, writers, and producers on the top 100 releases of 2017 were men. And only 18.2% were women. Among 1,223 directors over 11 years, 5.2% were Black or African American, 4.3% were women, and 3.1% was Asian of descent. The behind-the-camera numbers are absolutely at a standstill. If we're not seeing inclusion behind the camera, then the patterns on screen are going to be hard to change. The only way to make storytelling move is by thinking differently in how directors, writers, etc. get attached to projects. And here at Operation Backlot, we want to change that dynamic.
Of course.
And so a little bit, we're going to be talking about the movie business and how you can tap into diversity and how we can change this dynamic, because there's so much untapped talent today, but I don't think they're being tapped. and so what we're trying to do here at Operation Backlot, we're making alliances with Disney, Universal, Paramount, Amazon Films, and Google Films in providing internships and apprenticeship programs as a workforce development strategy for a gateway to entry-level employment for the aging out population. And our target is foster care youth and adults. Because it's not, to me, it's not about helping. Of course, it's about helping, giving a shot, but it's also, no, there's a reservoir of talent here, and it's not being tapped.
Right.
And so that's the mission of Operation Backlot, to try to find ways to make these alliances with these mega studios that's here, right in Los Angeles, and trying to make that gap and try to build a gateway to entry-level employment. Because as I know, when I was in the media, all you need is a break. All you need is somebody opening up the door.
Yeah.
And once you get in, you do the magic.
Yeah.
And I know in the film business, as any media, they want the best of the best.
Right.
Well, how do you know you don't have the best of the best unless you go and tap it? Mm-hmm. And so that's what we're trying to do. And this special untapped, unstoppable talent needs to be recognized, it needs to be nurtured and harvested for the next big billion-dollar box office hit, and also an emerging consumer market of the future. And to me, how do you make Hollywood diverse? Well, it's from the back lots. It's from boom operators, camera operators, set design, gaffers, grips, graphic design, pre- and post-production, sound, and, of course, editing. And you're learning from the best to be the best hands-on. So anyways, that's what Operation Backlot is all about. And I wanted to introduce our first guest, Dietrich Fowley, and I met him this year at an event in the community, and I was very impressed, Dietrich, with your presentation about your feature. So, this is cafe style, be relaxed, and just tell us something about you and some of your future goals.
So first of all, it's a blessing to be here with all of you at this table. You guys are amazing, all of you.
Oh, thank you.
My future goals are to hopefully do something with foster care, hopefully change the system in some type of way.
Right.
I know that changing the system takes a lot of work, but I'm definitely willing to put up the fight and go up against whoever is in my way. I feel like I can do this with acting. I know I can do it, which is why I'm actually working on a script for a short film right now.
Oh, wow.
And I'm actually getting ready to start a YouTube channel as well. So right now there's a lot going on, and I'm just trying to, make the flow as easy as possible. But if it comes hard, I'm ready for those challenges. I know how hard it's going to be. I know how difficult it's going to be. But I have a lot of support from you guys. I have support from people around me. And I know growing up, I would never picture myself being here. This is where I would have never pictured myself, ever. I picture myself being somewhere out of state by now, but I'm glad I'm here. This is a blessing. This is a blessing. I'm trying not to cry right now.
Hold it for the film.
Yeah, I'm trying not to cry. This is incredible.
Yeah. Well, we're glad you're here, Dietrich. We really are.
It's a blessing to be here.
Yeah. And I remember I met you at the event. What event was that again?
That was the Speak Out.
Speak Out.
Was it March or May? I think it was
May.
Yeah,
it was May.
It was May.
And what's the Speak Out?
The Speak Out was basically we spoke up about voting. We spoke about bills that needed to be passed, foster care experiences. We spoke about all kinds of stuff, and it was really amazing. And after I met Patricia, I really considered, because I was already considering going in the film. I was considering doing all that type of stuff, but then I was like, I don't know if I can do it because I know how hard it is to do it. If you don't have anyone, then I might waste my time trying to do it. But when I met you, you gave me the opportunity and the hope to actually do it. So now I've been really considering it all summer, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm getting ready to go back to school in the spring. Good. I'm going to take up acting. I'm going to do all of it. Yeah. And I'm going to get to where I need to go in order to accomplish this.
Good. And hopefully we can help you do that.
Oh, you will. There's no doubt.
Be your support. Okay. Here we have the queen of the day, Mariah Smiley. And tell us about, I was just very impressed by you. I mean, you took the whole afternoon. I mean,
sorry, I talk a lot.
Yeah. And I don't know, I think you just have something. You have it, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's just coming from the heart.
I always tell her that.
Okay, so my name is Mariah, as you guys may know. I have a lot of dreams because I came from a lot of past tribulations. A few of my dreams, I actually plan on going into real estate for foster youth to eventually give them, housing after being a TAY youth. And then I am in the process right now of building and creating more awareness to my business, which is Smiley Pops. And Smiley Pops is a bakery and a catering services that I'm developing as of now. And I specialize in cake pops, and I started with cupcakes.
Oh, wow.
So cake pops is my top sellers, and it's called brownie pops. So those are the, Okay, so back to my goals. But as of now, I am a foster youth advocate. So I advocate for foster youth, and I advocate by being a part of a nationwide movement with Congresswoman Karen Bass, and we go before the board and, different stakeholders and authorities to, as Patricia seen us at the Speak Out for Foster Youth, we were speaking out for the different changes and the tribulations we've been through and how the system failed us as our parents and as youth who is in need of services, support, and, finances, because we came into the system already unstable with no parents. So we would have thought that the government itself would have been our parents and gave us the foundation that we needed as an adult that's transferring into the world alone, So they didn't. They failed us, but that's okay because we got up. We're here. Right. But so I'm here to do what they're supposed to do, and I'm in the process along with Dietrich and a few other advocates of trying to change the system and find the broken chains that they did not, fix. So we're trying to start with the past chains and creating each chain as we go along by, supporting other youth and just knowing that they're not alone. So there's a lot that I'm doing.
A lot.
And I just ran for Miss Compton pageant, and I won Miss Compton Princess. So that's my sash right here in my crown I brung today to represent for the youth that don't have opportunity coming their way. You go and you seek opportunity.
That's
and when
right.
you seek opportunity, it comes for you.
That's
and
right.
through that one opportunity, you allow other opportunities to come your way, and you take advantage while you can. Even if it costs money, because it costs money. I didn't know how I was going to get it, but I believe in the Most High, and I got it. Thank God to Him. And my supporters, that I did come across. But it was difficult. But you just try, and you stay determined, and you keep trying because, you're going to fall. I fell a few times.
We all did.
I fell a few times. I can cry, but with the support and having people by your side, it's helpful. So that's where I'm going as far as my life, being a support system for foster youth between the ages of 16 to 26, because I know, your brain stops developing when you're 25, and I want to make sure that, our foster youth is actually emotionally, physically, mentally stable with finances and housing.
Absolutely.
So that's where, all my goals are at. For, my Smiley Pop catering service, that's my goal, my own personal goal that I've been working on, but then in the process of advocating for foster youth, I've actually, want to open it up and broaden the horizon for that so that they have jobs when they are, TAY youth or even high school youth if they want to, enhance their culinary skills. I would prefer to have trainings and workshops where they can go and, learn from that. So it's a lot that I'm doing for foster youth, but at the end of the day, it's for foster youth.
That's awesome.
And it's sad to say only for foster youth, but it's for foster youth,
Right.
Because
As it
it's
should.
hard, to come, be abandoned, and taken away from what you love, and then to be abandoned again from the system,
Right.
and then go thrown into the streets of God knows what. So it's like, I want to try to catch and save as many people as I can.
Absolutely.
Like how you are going to save us, with your opportunity and us being here. That's, like Dietrich said, it's a blessing because I wouldn't have never, came across anything like this. And to just be able to express my goals and dreams and what I'm trying to do for myself, but yet for others,
Yeah.
So.
And I think that's for all of us. You
Yeah.
know, we need to, help each other. And unfortunately, the system that we live in, it's not so benevolent as we think it is.
Yeah.
And I remember, when I first came to Los Angeles years ago, and I think about throughout my career, I look back, there are good people
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are people who will help you.
Yeah.
If they see that you're moving forward, they'll grab your hand.
Right.
You know, and because they remember when somebody helped them.
See, yes, yeah.
You know, because you can't. I truly believe in life. You know, you probably experience this too. You can't do this on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and you shouldn't even expect to do this on
Yeah.
your own. I don't care
And
where
I
you
think
come
we have
from.
to dispel that myth that I think it's a lie that they're telling, you know, especially to foster youth, that, you know, that they're out there alone. And the fact of the matter is that all of us are out here alone,
Right.
And you know, we're
So
we're
true.
all fostered to a certain extent. You know,
That's right.
the only way that we can break that is if we keep uniting people
Yeah, and that's-
together.
yes.
And so then they don't, you know, they don't have to feel like it, because there's people that live in mansions in the Hollywood
Yeah.
Hills that are killing themselves.
Yeah,
you
'cause
know,
they
or
are alone.
They are
They are
alone.
alone.
And so, you know, I think it's just that lie that, you know, that myth that's out there for isolation.
Yeah.
And we want to break really that isolation
Yeah.
wall. And I think my question would be for the two of you with that. What do you think are some myths that people carry about foster young adults? Because there's so many narratives out there about safety and criminal records and identifications and all of these different things that you know, how they're not really documented because they've been through the system so many times.
Yeah.
What are some myths that you would want people to really just change when it comes to working with foster youth or young adults or just adult fosters?
You want to go ahead and answer that first?
See, I was going to say you can go first.
I would say the biggest one that I have a problem with is where they say foster youth can't be loved. That hurts me to my
They
core.
can be what?
Can't be loved.
Foster youth can't be loved.
You
And
can't be loved?
Yeah.
I've heard people tell me that
That's
to
a
my
myth.
face so many times, and it hurts me to my core, like, because I start to believe it sometimes. And when I, you know, when I'm around people like you guys, it changes my perspective. But what about when I'm not around you guys?
Right.
What about when I'm sitting in my room and I'm like, I feel so alone. I feel like I'm not going to be anything because people who didn't grow up in foster care and they have good lives. They grow up with good lives. They grow up with all the Nikes and the new Jordans and all that type of stuff. But I grew up with, you know, $250 every 3 months to go shopping. So
Yeah.
I had to struggle with, you know, keeping my clothes intact, and they get $250 every week to go shopping.
Right.
And it's amazing how, you know, they can tear us down because we didn't get born into wealth, or we didn't get born into a good thing. But, you know, I don't understand. I don't understand it.
Yeah. And the thing is that with that, I mean, they're human beings too, you
Yeah.
know, and we all have those lonely periods. I mean, I had a lonely period this morning. You know, my family. I said, where are they? You know, but you know, this
I'm a
is
single
where-
mother and I have a lonely period every night when I'm stressed out. Yeah,
But you find your refuge. You know, you
Yes.
find, you know, you love. What's the song? You love yourself.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that's all you have.
Yeah.
You know, and to have the dignity and the integrity to go out and say, you might not care about me,
Yeah.
but I care about me.
And I think in talking to what you were saying about the myths, to put
Yeah.
blame where it needs to be placed,
Yeah.
a lot of times with people, what we don't understand is that things take time.
Yeah.
Right.
And so
Right.
if you, and I don't know the nuances about how foster care works, but, you know, I know that if you've been moved so many times, and even with all of us, if you've been in relationship after relationship after relationship, and those relationships don't work or something breaks down, don't you put up a wall before
Yeah.
you go into
Sure.
your next relationship?
Yeah.
If you've been hit
Whoa.
by a car,
Right.
and you've been robbed,
I'ma be
don't you?
precautious
You're
on
gonna
each
be
car.
a little. So if I know that there may be a possibility, you know, I know from my family working in the system, you know, even I used to hate the temporary custody, emergency
yeah.
custody,
Oh,
yeah.
where it's like these kids are with you 3 or 4 days, and I used to talk to adults that didn't. It was more painful for them because they were like, I don't know where this child is going
Yeah.
next, but
Yeah.
they were just emergency custody, so they were more than 72 hours to a week or
Yeah.
two to their process. And these were older women who were like, these kids are leaving. I don't know where they're going. They're splitting them up. They're sending everybody everywhere. So, you know, I think that we have to just be honest that you have a right, if
Yeah.
you do,
Yeah.
to have a wall, but it takes time. And if you really see value in something, you will put in the time
Yeah.
to break that wall
Right.
down.
Yeah.
You know, or even if it's it's not a wall, to let it thaw out.
Yeah.
Let that ice thaw. So we need to put blame on people that are lack of patience and this need for instant gratification.
Yeah.
And then the fact of the matter is that, you know what? It's about giving.
Yeah.
It's not about, see, the problem is now is that everything is so superficial. So it's like, oh, they don't have anything to give back to me.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't get some type of kudos that I would get if I, you know, bring my child up through varsity basketball and he becomes this player and I can say it's all me, or they become a math genius. In foster care, you're doing more giving than you are receiving. You may have planted a seed in that child at 7 that he may remember at 27, even though you was only maybe together for 3 months, you know? So, you know, I just think that we have to take more responsibility on the other side to say that, you know, this is not about us. Like, we're really doing this because this is about who we can help and service.
Well, and we are brothers keepers,
right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what's the point? You know, of being here? I think someone quoted something that the rent of being here is by helping people.
Yeah.
You know, and so
and when we live this life, that's the cost of living.
Yeah.
And people keep forgetting that, like paying your bills and taking care of your family, that's the cost of living. Anything outside of that, you know, is really what you give. So it's just when you're helping your brother and your sister, like you said, that's your insurance. That's just balancing your checkbook every month. But you don't get a special pat on the back for that.
Right.
So what would you say?
So I'll just comment on a few things, but I'll say, you know, what Dietrich said about, you know, feeling alone and wondering, like, you know, if he should move forward and just, like, being discouraged, and just the myth about the system and saying how, you know, youth can't be loved. Well, I'll say that we can be loved by the right person. It's just a matter of time and patience that the person put within us to help us unwrap every layer of trauma and every layer of hurt and abandonment and heartbreak and, you know, whatever it is, a death of the family, separation of the siblings, you know, the taken away from the mother. Like, you know, those are things that we hold within that we don't express with others because of either the neglect or, you know, your reaction or the rejection or, you know, little stuff like that. So if foster youth can't be loved, it's maybe because how you guys are coming at us, you know, or maybe it's because of the hurt that we have aside because of someone we did love or someone we did trust or, you know, something in that nature. But it all boils back to who and what we did love got taken away from us.
Right.
Yes.
And 95% of us youth would prefer to have stayed with, you know, our parents or in that situation rather than getting taken away. But then it just kind of goes back to we're supposed to give, and you give, you know, kids opportunity, you give parents time and, you know, support to get their kids back.
Yeah.
You know, but I feel like the system, they don't do that because we're like, it's sad to say, but we're in a generation where it's kind of like a money thing.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, you know, we are documented as numbers and then checks, you know, at the end of the day. So going back into Tay and everything, that's why it's kind of hard for them to make us stable because they didn't take us away, you know, with a sincere heart or with the heart of wanting us to do better. I feel that they took a majority of us away to keep the chains and to keep the cycle and to keep the money going because just, you know, if they was to do what they're supposed to do and help the parents, you know, with their parenting and whatever it is that they need, then they'll be stable enough to have the motivation to want to get their kids back, or they'll be stable enough to do it until they get their kids back. Whatever the case scenario is like, you know, they don't do it. They fall short. And then they have so many cases that they can't even care for the kids they do care for. So it all boils down to, like, you know, the system hurting us. And that's why we're, like, you know, where we're at, hurt, and why we're lost, and why we're on drugs, and why we're going to jail, and why we're just, like, you know, stealing and robbing and doing everything else is because when you're young and you're trying to get somewhere and you don't have anyone to love you, how are you supposed to, like, you know, love someone else or care for someone else or even just have the self-motivation to look at yourself in the mirror like, okay, I'm strong enough to do this. I can do this. When you had everybody behind you say, you can't do this. You a foster. We don't love. Like, where's your parents? See, your mom don't even love you because you're here. Oh, this or that, you know? So little stuff like that, that's what tears foster youth down, you know? But maybe if the system was a little more supportive in their ways and their myths and even just plain language,
Right.
you know, on how they document things or how they say things or word things or approach youth. I think that would be a little better for their mental, because you can't come to someone that's already hurt with some more hurt on top of hurt and think they're supposed to be okay.
Right.
Like, you know, like
Right.
I don't see. How would you feel just saying it, not saying like that, but, you know, if
Right.
someone you love died or went to jail for life, and then you trying to get over it, but they come with some other stuff like, well, your mom don't love you, so now you're going to be homeless. Like, now you can't, you got, what, you know, so.
It's
But
almost abuse.
yeah, it's a lot of abuse, you
And
know.
we have to call it what it is,
Yeah.
because this is
It's abusive
systematic
system.
and
oppression.
I feel like it's the
That's
new
what it
slavery
is.
for
Yes,
youth,
it is.
because
It's systematic oppression.
we are taken at a young age to the point where we don't have a right to say what we want or don't want, and because we're minors and they're our parents, they're going to control us. But then once we're in here, we can't get out of here because we're still a minor, and they're controlling us and telling us what to do, who to go to, what you get. Well, you're going to get $7 a week for the rest of your life, $200.50, whatever, for your clothing for the whole year. Like, you know,
Yeah.
stuff like that. I feel like that's a little bit slave entitled, and then it goes back to foster care to prison. That's the new pipeline.
Yeah.
Foster care
pipeline.
to
Yeah.
prison. There's no foster care to success, because the 2% is foster youth who graduate, and that's even barely at 2% of 364,000
See.
plus youth. So it's
See,
just
the
like,
problem is foster youth for checks. We're checks.
but we're
not-
talented checks.
We're not people anymore. We're checks. We're checks. That's how the government looks at us. That's how foster parents look at us. We're checks. And if you're not a check, then you got to go.
Man, because when you go to when you try
Where's the
and get
love?
services, you know, and stuff
Where-
like that, they're like, well, you don't have this and this and that, so you can't qualify, but you can truly need the service. But because on paper, your finances don't say where they're supposed to be when you're the only person in the household taking care of yourself, and lo and behold, if you have siblings, you know, so it's kind of like I don't really, no fairness, no love, no support. Really, it's everything is just
systematic.
Yeah.
Systematic.
yeah, just
Systematic
yeah.
oppression, and it is the new pipeline, the prison, and they're working within the school system, within the foster care system, within the prison system, to make sure that everything is talking to each other.
Right.
And,
Exactly. No, really, because when I advocate and I go to these meetings and stuff like that, you know, I sit back and I listen, but everyone's policy says the same thing. But then when you break it down and you talk to them in that plain language, like, wait, I caught that. Express this. What that mean? You know, they can't really express it because it's just like, well, we just copied and pasted from what probation said or from what mental health said or what they said, but nobody's really genuinely like, okay, well, I believe this needs to be changed and this right here needs to be down here and it goes in this form, but everybody's like, well, copy and paste. Copy
But
and
the
paste.
problem is,
Copy and
even though
paste.
we get a bill passed, it's not getting implemented.
Nope.
It's just sitting there.
Yep.
It's just sitting there because they don't care to implement it.
Nope.
They don't want to put the money into it. They don't want to put the
They
time
don't.
into it. And the problem is, when you really think about it, we've had more prisons built over the last 30 years than colleges.
And do you know
We've had 5
we have-
colleges built in the past 30 years compared to over 30,000 prisons.
But did you see the bulletins
US.
like before, like how they would have like the schools and it'd be like
Yeah, exactly.
it'll be like 9,000 youth in school, but
Exactly.
then 34,000 youth in prison. Like what? Like yo.
And if you compare, you know, the foster youth rate of foster youth that get out of foster care and go to college compared to kids who aren't who get out of high school and then go to college,
that's because
it's
they
a
have
major
scholarships
difference.
sometimes.
See, but as a foster youth, you can't really get those scholarships because you're traveling, you're moving, you're
You're not
all
have
over the place. You're not stable.
You're still traumatized.
Yeah, you're going through all of this stuff, and it's like, where's the love? Where's the commitment to my growth? You have people that are committed to yours. That's why you're a foster parent, but you're not committed to me, so you're not a parent. You're
Right.
just a check.
So if you had to, if there was one thing, because we obviously see there's a multitude of problems, you know, we know that there's on the policy level,
Yeah.
and that's something that's going to always need to be fixed. We can obviously tell, and as you know, we've discussed on this show before, what has been something heavy on my heart is that there's so many people now here in America that's going to be even more disenfranchised because they're chasing after this immigration issue and the separation of the families, and because that's such a mess, you know, that it's going to backlog and it's going to just clog up what's already dysfunctional with current American children. Then we have the issue of human trafficking, you know, and the sex
major
slave
issue.
trade, and that's a major issue with, like I said, Americans, those that are not documented.
I feel like, you know, personally on the sex trade and sex trafficking, a lot of them youth are foster youth. A lot of the females are, you know, foster youth, a lot of the gay or the LGBTQ community is the ones that sex trafficking themselves for money or for food or for housing or getting into a relation just so that they have, stable something, and that relation end up turning into pimp and prostitution and other stuff like that, and controlling and, stuff like that. So it's just like the foster system is where it starts,
And where will we start there? If there was one thing that you could say, okay, tomorrow I could have a platform to speak to say, why don't we focus our attention on this? Like I said, we know we have policy. We know we have day-to-day issues. We know we have social issues. What cultural issues? What would you be one of your passions to say, let's focus on first?
Honestly, it probably would be sex trafficking, because these young women are out here selling their bodies because they don't feel loved. They don't feel respected. They get thrown out of their house, and then what? Right. What do? You can't sleep on the streets. Obviously, if you sleep on the streets, you're still going to get raped regardless. So there is something. I might as well do it for money. I might as well do it for a place to sleep. I might as well do it for food.
I've heard
that's
that.
Not right.
Yeah,
that's not right.
Yeah.
These are young women. These are young women who can carry an entire generation.
Yeah.
These young women need to know that they're loved. They need to know that they're intelligent. They need to know that they can carry the next generation and the generations after that. But what we're doing is we're doing this wrong. We're not loving them people who aren't in foster care, they treat them bad because they don't know what it's like to be in foster care.
Yeah.
They get these young women get torn apart. They get beat by people who aren't in foster care. They get thrown at by people who aren't in foster care. And then all of a sudden, you're in jail because you're trying to find a place to sleep. You got to sell your body to find a place to sleep. You got to sell your body to stay alive. And that's not right. That needs to be the biggest thing that needs to get changed.
So there's no kind of safety net.
There's no safety for these young women out here.
So we have to create a safety net.
It's not, and that's why foster youth go AWOL sometimes too, because they don't feel safe in their foster home, or they don't feel safe within the area that they're at, or they don't feel safe with the people who's in the housing and stuff like that. And it's just like so they run, they go somewhere where they think they feel safe at, but when you're young, you don't really think about the long-term effects or how that would plan out or how that would play, but you think about how it would make me feel within that moment. So it's like, I'd rather not be here and, be stressed and getting raped or getting hurt or torn down, so I'm going to run away, go my boyfriend, who would probably do the same thing, but because I love him or something and he loves me or something, we've been together and we have attachments, then, they go like that, but then even then it's just like, it goes back to
and that's the key problem. Women can't speak up. They speak up, they get put on probation. They speak up, they get put in jail.
Or you speak up, they think you're lying.
They get sent to an even worse home just for speaking up. Oh, you said that they're raping you. Okay, I'm going to send you to a worse home.
And even for the young men, they have their traumas too. Then, and they're going.
I mean, I have my traumas, but at the same time, women have it worse than we do.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Women have it a lot worse than we do. Like my little sister's in foster care. I don't know what's going on with her. I haven't heard from her. I don't know where she is. I don't know how she's doing, and that scares me. That's my little sister. She's 14. Like, where are you? Where are you? Okay? Like, I don't know.
So if we, okay. So what would be the treatment? What is needed? I mean, it's hard. I mean, wow,
there's
things are just so much.
Yeah, I'm like, look, which level are we talking about?
I mean,
if we had to start someplace, like she said, what would be as just the general community? Where would they be able to start? Do we need to have more programs? Do we need to have more? What do we?
We can start right now by just loving the young women of this generation.
That? Where do we find them? How do we sort? If I was to walk home today, how do I know where to source
youth? Foster
youth? I mean, anybody. I mean, I found you today because we connected through her, because she was just so happens to be in a park. And I feel like nothing just happens. Right. But the average youth are not at the level of excellence that you two are operating in. So how will we be able to connect with that community that's so under the radar that we don't know where to find them?
It's honestly, that's a good question, because it's really hard to go out and...
Because the system won't let us find you.
Of course.
The same way the system won't let you find your sister, They don't promote us trying to build you. So how could we create our Underground Railroad to be able to, what would be ideas to create the new Underground Railroad?
I've actually, was thinking about that, and I've been trying to like go, okay, because there's levels, obviously, but there's subjects and categories that you have different levels too. So it's like, so far I've came up with, we work on the services that's already here to improve what they have going on for themselves in their own missions. And then it's a matter of going to the board and stakeholders and people of authority to, fight for the change and, see what is what, even though they may not tell us. But I just feel like when you have a line of people that's in unity, that's accurate, with the same information, then it's the power of the tongue, And going to the board with the few people you have to express and let them know, like, hey, we've been doing this and we came up with this plan and your policy says this, but then by this time and time it shows that you've been decreasing instead of increasing, and we feel that we can do this, that, and the third to help you increase with your policy, and...
Okay, a thought just came to my mind. What you were just saying. Okay. Now we have these council people.
Absolutely.
We have districts. The cities are all over the country.
Right.
The same thing. They know where you are.
Yeah.
Everything is sliced up. So I'm thinking about these politicians. Like our councilmen. Maybe going up to them and let's sit down and have a neighborhood conversation.
Yeah. So
how are we addressing our aging foster care? Okay.
Right on time.
Okay, I'm on time.
Yeah, you're on time.
Okay.
So my mission for the Miss Compton pageant is for me to be used as a personal testimony to help create opportunity and unity for foster youth from the city of Compton to the state capitol, since I am in a nationwide movement and will be going to Washington, D.C., hopefully next year for Shadow Day. Shadow Day is a day we go as foster youth to Washington, obviously, to implement bills and speak up of change that we need within the system itself in our services. So for my mission, I've been thinking and trying to figure out, I've honestly wanted a nonprofit for foster youth so that they have the foundation, along with the Smiley Pops job that they'll have. But the nonprofit basically will, whatever, from every category that it will be there, for them within each city, basically, because there's no services in each city. You have to go to either the headquarters or nothing, or you call the ombudsman or nothing. So it's like a matter of, well, from city to city, how do you get services, awareness, people to know what's going on and to fight or to, and you have to do it by each city. So I was trying to come up with a nonprofit, eventually starting with the city of Compton, and then I've been writing, but I'm not finished yet, a proposal for, like you said, the council members for the city of Compton and the district of, the school district and the city hall and, Congresswoman, to see how can we all come together as one. Because, sometimes you can't just go in there and be like, well, I have this plan, here you go, and it's going to work. Sometimes you have to, like, okay, so what have you guys been working on? What have you guys been doing? What are you guys' future goals? What is the problem? Okay, come in with that, that's that, and then seeing, how can I be an asset to this so we can get this done, or how can I bring forth what I have, so you guys can move forward, whether it's with me or it's not with me, but so that we have something, So I feel like talking and having meetings with each council member and
or at least
head.
at least create some kind of refuge. Like it's some kind of a place that the aging out can go for resources. This is where you go for housing.
But I think she made a good point, which I think it would be the responsibility of those within the business community, like myself, to be able to work on. There are resources which you and I both know, from our industry, you from media and me from business. And just alone, I'm in the restaurant, hospitality, food service, retail, convention, tourism business. There are just too many resources that we do not need to create another nonprofit to make demands. We know within our neighborhood councils the type of money in just their outreach budgets that we could pool to say, here's the outreach budget. here's this group right here, you know. I think that we have to do better as a community on the top level. Instead of going back to our politicians are beholding to the people that put money in their pockets for their campaigns.
Yeah.
Right.
No matter what, they can only do so much. And then also, it's just like what we discussed a moment ago. There is a smorgasbord of issues. Are we going to deal with foster care? Are we going to deal with homelessness? Are we going to deal with immigration? Are we going to deal with domestic violence? Are we going to deal with prison? All of those have overlaps. And they're all yet a deep vertical hole. So I think that within our business community and the working community, we have to start making sure that the resources that we have within ourselves, that we make sure that they're being allocated within the community to the best places as possible.
And the thing is, we have all kinds of events in California. We have Taste of Soul, all that type of stuff, but we don't have no foster care events. Where are the foster care events?
Or how we can take the resources from those events to be able to take care of organizations and groups that help foster.
Why don't we have any former foster youth promoting Taste of Soul? Why don't we have any former foster youth promoting BT Awards? All that type of stuff. Where are the former foster youth? Why?
I just kind of want to know where's the 2% of foster youth who become successful, because they say, you know, I don't watch TV, but you guys watch TV, and you guys see all these famous people and the people that's out there and stuff like that, but then you really don't hear them, like, acknowledge that I was a foster youth or I was this and I was that.
Do you know why is that?
No, I don't.
Do you know, have you talked to any other foster youth that have maybe not been inclined to want to speak on it? Is it a trauma issue? Or?
And I don't know. That's the thing.
I haven't talked to a few. I have talked to a few, and the problem is foster youth are scared that if they speak up, they're going to get hurt.
But I'm saying those that became successful, like she was saying.
I've talked to a few. I've talked to a few who became successful, and they told me that the hardest part about even becoming successful as a former foster youth is understanding who you are as a person.
Yeah,
is loving who you are as a person. That's so hard for us to do. I've got this crown and this sash, but behind closed doors, you know, I still fall to my knees, and I try to figure out, you know, like, when something is going wrong and it's really just me, even though I have my parents, but I don't have my parents, so it's just me, and it's just like, you know, what do I stand for? Like, what will I not accept, and what will I accept, you know? And it's just like, well, I've been through all this, and I've been through 16 different homes in a matter of, how old am I? 27? I was 7 years old when I got taken. I'm 20, about to be 21 now. So in a matter of them few years, I've been in 16 homes and trying to figure out, why did I get taken away? Or, you know, what is it? Is it me? Is it my personality? Is it my looks? Is it what I said? You know, is it my sexuality? It's just like a whole lot of, what is it? You know, so then you kind of lose who you are. So it's a matter of you having either that's a person that inspires you by your side, or it's just a matter of you mentally, you know, wanting to do better, and you're strong enough to fight it every day, to stand for who you are every single day, you know.
And that's where my passion comes in, is that where are the people to love you?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we all need love. You know, we all want to be respected. And what gets me is that we live in such a dynamic society. We're talking about money I mean, people can make $80 million, they can buy $80 million house, you know, in America in 2000. But where is like you were saying, I don't see, this is just an example, the Oscars. I don't see any of these celebrities bringing up somebody, you know, or sitting next to someone and say, I'm sponsoring or I'm helping this person. I'm loving this person.
The only people that I know has been giving back to their city so far, it has been Kendrick Lamar, because I know he donated some money to Centennial, which was a former school I went to. And then also, you know, they're rebuilding. There's a community Dollar Hyde Center in Compton, off the Compton station. So I know that they're rebuilding, you know, like little structures and stuff like that to bring forth Compton. And even Dr. Dre it hasn't came out yet, but I've seen, I don't know if I should say this, but I've seen a sneak peek. I've seen a sneak peek of the documentary of Compton, and he's basically giving back, you know, to Compton so that they can rebuild Compton. But those are like the only two celebrities that I could truly say that I know that's giving back, you know, and they're out there and people know who they are, but you don't hear celebrities.
And I know Victoria Ryle had a platform for it for a number of years, but I think she transitioned a little bit out the mainstream when soap operas kind of died down, and so she wasn't as relevant as she got older, and now she doesn't maybe not necessarily keep up as much. But I think that to your point, I agree with you totally. I just take an alternative perspective. I am at the place where I'm like, I want to build these young people that they're not waiting for somebody to love them. That we begin to build this resource and say, no, let's empower yourself and let's empower each other that's in maybe the same boat, so that while you're waiting, it would be no different to me than I would tell a young woman who may not be in foster care but has low self-worth and she keeps getting an abusive relationship.
And that's the thing I don't understand. Like, we're all human at the end of the day. So how is it so difficult to tell another human, the same tribulations you've been through just because they're foster? Or how is it so hard to, figure out what fosters want and need as a child, and you have a child? Like,
or you were a child.
Yeah, and it's not that hard to figure out what makes a child happy. You want to be loved. You want to feel like you belong in whatever space you're at, You want to feel like you have the support to do what it takes, whatever you're trying to do, So it's just a matter of, like, politics and, them faking the funk. And it's just a whole lot, but it's just, it's not hard to figure out what a child needs and wants in order to grow up to be successful,
And then life hits you,
Right.
and life hits you.
At 16.
And then it's, then you have to, as they say, man up, with the society, because not everybody's going to love you. Don't we wish? But but the thing is that you got to move forward, and I think there's so many stories, especially in our communities, when you had a whole race of people that didn't, that was not loved.
Was annihilated.
And but we moved forward. I remember Martin Luther King. I never forget this. My mother was telling me one day. She says, "Yeah, Martin Luther King said, I can't make you love me,
right?
But I can respect you. I can demand respect. And respect myself.
Yeah,
And I think that's what
and then us remembering that everybody has been dealt a different hand of cards.
Yes,
that's right.
And so, I know people who, I was 7 years old and I was taken away from my parents.
Yeah.
I know people that are like, I was 17 years old and my parents were murdered, or they were killed in a car accident, or everybody is going to have to play that hand at a different time.
Yeah.
And I think that it's so important that, like we were discussing earlier, that we begin to thaw out those myths.
Yeah.
That, that alone and that isolation is going to come in some form at any stage in your life. Yours may come through foster care. Yours may come through sickness.
Right.
Yours may come through death. Yours may come through assault. Everybody is going to have to level up in some way, and they're going to have to deal with themselves. And so I think it's important for us as a community to be honest about there are, you may be foster in a physical not being with your parents, and you may be foster at 54, when all of a sudden, you went in on 9/11 and your husband didn't come out of that tower, and now all of a sudden, boom, you're just left, by yourself. Or that family in St. Louis or whatever, or I don't know if it's St. Louis, don't quote me, that was on the rafter, the wet rafter ride.
Okay.
So the family
I know what you're
of
talking
16
about, but I don't know the city.
got on the family reunion.
Right.
The family of 16 got on the boat in the water, on the water raft ride in the lake or whatever.
Yeah.
And when they got on the water raft ride, somehow they hit some type of dune or something. It flipped the boat over and sucked the entire family down. Out of all 16, just the great aunt and one of the nieces was left alive. Wow. All other family members was completely wiped out. So here this girl is, 17 years old, her whole family wiped out, and then the great aunt, which was maybe like 70-something years old. But other than that, every other family member was wiped out at that moment, So now we've just had a senior become foster, and we just had a young person youth become foster, and their trauma is going to be no
with
different
them,
than I'm sure with what you guys felt, with that issue and that history. So I think when you start getting people to think about where it is, and and how it happens, they can maybe think about your feelings and what you deal with in a different way, because it's like, maybe this has happened or could happen to me in some form, you know?
Right. And I think, like you were saying, it's about your mindset and about moving forward, you know? I mean, there's so many examples, you know, especially in our community, you know, that it's something in us, you know, that we just keep moving forward. That resilient.
And we have to teach our young people, yes, definitely through faith. And then we also have to study success. And if, you know... And
yes.
If we can...
Yes.
You know, we study success. I told people, you know, I went through a series of traumatic situations myself growing up. And as I went through those traumatic situations, what I noticed was I was like, how do some people fall apart and other people stay, you know, hold it together? That was something that was really on my heart and in my mind. But what I did was I studied people in third world countries. I studied people whose families was wiped out by war and who had bombs over their heads every single day. And so, I'm here in America and I may be going through some trauma on my level. Right. I will never know what it's like to be a 6-year-old and a bomb or a drone or an IUD goes off. Or I'm in Africa and they haul everybody away and you're in outright slavery. I mean, here we have systematic slavery. Right. But in Africa, you are hauled away and are in India or in those sweat camps in Asia. You know, where so it's like it's really looking at, you know, I talk to 6-year-olds who are raising babies because they watch their parents die of AIDS and HIV and they're nursing babies with flies all around them, you know. And then we come to America and yes, we have our sex trafficking and yes, we have our homelessness, but at least we can go outside and get food.
One thing I could say, one thing I could say, sorry not to cut you off, please. But you know, one thing about America and even just California, you know, they call it the Golden State. And I don't feel like it's called the Golden State for nothing, but I personally say it's the Golden State of opportunity. May not be freedom, but it's opportunity. Because there's, no matter what, you can Uber, you know, you can hustle on a sidewalk without getting a ticket sometimes, you know. You could, I mean, it's just a level of, you could be an entrepreneur starting with a piece of paper that you done took from somebody else. Like, it's, you know, it's just a lot, but it's all about your mindset. I could say, like, your mindset and whether or not you want to stay a victim to your circumstances or do you want to empower your mind to go beyond, you know, each of those challenges. But back to what you were saying about studying success. Yeah, because I've, you know, by the grace of opportunity and the Most High, I've got mentorship with successful people that's, you know, up there. And one thing that they constantly get on me about is my mindset and the words that I spill out of my mouth. Because they're like, you have the potential. You have, you know, the coachability mindset. You have all of that. But it's what you say. And it's just a matter of me believing the things that I say and then how I say. Because when, for example, I'd be like, well, I'm trying to get my catering service. And they're like, aren't you already doing it? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, well, exactly. So then you're doing it. You just need to improve it. So it's kind of like how you come out of it. And
how you word it. And how you view it.
You know, one of the biggest problems with our mindset is that we allow people to tear it down. We allow people to come into our lives who we think are going to be there for us, thick and thin, who we believe are going to be there for us to help us through our pain. But then they see what our pain is like and they run away. And sometimes without even a word. People will just, like, stop talking to you. And then you question, like, did I do something wrong?
Yeah. And sometimes what you have to do is you almost, you got to put your shield up. Oh, that's coming. No.
Yeah.
And you have to know what you stand for so that you know when the red flags are coming, you know, like, well, this ain't equal. And I stand for equality. So either you need to improve or I can't be in this sort of friendship, relationship, teachable-ship, whatever you want to call it, ship, you know? So it's just kind of like, I just feel, like it's just a lot about, I feel like a lot of us foster youth, because we haven't had empowerment growing up or the security of we belong here, that we fall for anything. And you want to be loved so bad that you love anything or anybody, you know, that shows you a piece of love because that's what you want. Sometimes that may not be the best of love, but knowing where you come from and knowing what you stand for and knowing them red flags that's similar to the last past hurt that you've been through, you should know, like, that's not, you know, right. This sounds so familiar, but yet I'm going to stay here.
Away.
Like, you know, just your mindset. You have to override the fear and the doubt and what the negativity, you know?
Well, on that note,
Sorry. Sorry, I talk a lot.
No, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. But our time is running out. But I wanted to, first of all, do a couple of shout-outs. First of all, I want to congratulate Morris Media Studios.
Yes, thank you.
They're celebrating its humble beginnings and milestones with an official grand opening on Saturday, September 15th, 2018. The festive day will consist of delicious food, tasty libations, and folks networking. Invited guests include an eclectic mix of LA tastemakers, local celebrities, city officials, and our own podcasters. And proceeds from sponsorship of this event will go toward the launch of the Morris Broadcast Academy, a learning space for teens and young adults. So I wanted to get that shout out. And also there's a new intellectual cafe that's right down the block.
Yeah. We were just talking about that.
It's 4333. It's called Metaphor, and it's some really cool guys who own it. They're all in the fraternity, graduates from Stanford, UCLA, and they really want to provide a space for the community to come together to relax, talk, and also have great intellectual conversations. So we're going to go down there. We want to, also invite everybody there too. And again, just to wrap up, just to wrap up our conversations, I want to thank so much Deidre for coming in, and also Mariah,
and thank
also
you guys
Abe.
for having us.
And we haven't talked that much about what's happening in Crenshaw community.
Absolutely, but we have next month. We're here.
Yeah, we'll have
here
next
every month.
Actually, we have a couple minutes.
Yes, well, there's a lot of growth and development going on here. We know next door to the Jack in the Box, and between the Jack in the Box and the McDonald's here on Crenshaw, there will be a new development that'll be popping up there on the north side of Crenshaw, going towards the 10. There is the West Angeles, their development project. Looks like it's nearing completion as they're polishing off the final things in that area. And the Crenshaw Plaza has been fully approved to remodel. So there is a lot of movement and activities that's going to be taking place in and around the mall. So definitely a lot of development opportunities. We just had the Power Fest off of Vermont and Manchester on yesterday. We heard that it was a dynamic event. The Leimert Park Book Fair was on yesterday as well. And so just a lot of great things going on in your community. So I tell people all the time, just remember to patronize your community. There is trains that are being built right now on the Crenshaw corridor, but park your car, get out, walk, patronize your local businesses, because those businesses are able to provide jobs for the community as well as be able to strengthen the community ties. So that's what's going on.
And Mariah, you had something else to say real quick?
Yes, so just really quick, as far as the mall in the Crenshaw area, there for foster youth, if you don't know, it's called the Right Way Foundation, and you should go there if you need any services. It's right under the parking structure of the Crenshaw Mall. What's the name of it? But go there for any services if you need any help. It's called the Right Way Foundation.
Okay, so we're wrapping up here. Get engaged, be engaged. This is your community. This is your city. Own it.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to coming back.